listeners, we have come to the last leg of the Unit 16 on negotiation, and in this video we are going to talk about what are the various ways through which the negotiation can be made more effective. So the negotiation process can be made effective if we pay attention and avoid certain common mistakes. Now, what could be these common mistakes? One is failing to negotiate or accepting the first offer, letting your ego get in the way, having unrealistic expectations, getting overly emotional, and letting past negative outcomes affect the present ones. Now, looking at failing to negotiate or accepting the first offer. Some of the people do believe that negotiation is a conflict situation and hence they try to avoid this. Research findings have demonstrated that this kind of conflict avoidance is most prevalent amongst female workforce. For example, one study looked at students from Carnegie Mellon who were getting their first job after earning a master's degree. The study found that only 7% of the women negotiated their offer, while men negotiated 57% of the time, as reported by CNN in 2003. The result had profound consequences. Researchers calculate that people who routinely negotiate salary increases will earn over $1 million more by retirement than people who accept an initial offer every time without asking for more. Then, letting your ego get in the way is a common mistake, and this should be avoided. Putting more value for yourself and thinking about oneself can prove to be disadvantageous. People from the United States are more egoistic and self-centered. This narcissistic behavior may add no value to the negotiation process. Instead, think about why the other person would want to accept the deal. Help them meet their goals while you achieve yours. Integrative outcomes depend on having good listening skills besides good communication. A good business relationship can only be created and maintained if both parties get a fair deal, meaning arriving at a win-win solution. Another common mistake that tends to make the negotiation process ineffective is having unrealistic expectation. Now, Susan Podzeba, a professor of mediation at Harvard and MIT, plays broker for some of the toughest negotiations around, from public policy to marital disputes. She takes an integrative approach in the negotiations, identifying goals that are large enough to encompass both sides. As she puts it, we are never going to be able to sit at a table with the goal of creating peace and harmony between fishermen and conservationists, but we can establish goals big enough to include the key interests of each party and resolve the specific impasse we are currently facing. Setting reasonable goals at the outset that addresses each party's concerns will decrease the tension in the room and will improve the chances of reaching an agreement. Another problem that we encounter with the parties in a negotiation process is some of them tend to become overly emotional. So, negotiators who display anger during negotiation negotiate worse than those who do not. During online negotiations, those parties who encountered anger were more likely to compete than those who did not. In a study of online negotiations, words such as despise, disgusted, furious, and hate were related to a reduced chance of reaching an agreement. Now, talking about letting past negative outcomes affect the present ones. Research shows that negotiators who had previously experienced ineffective negotiations were more likely to have failed negotiations in the future. Those who were unable to negotiate some type of deal in previous negotiation situations tended to have lower outcomes than those who had successfully negotiated deals in the past. The key to remember is that there is a tendency to let the past repeat itself. Being aware of this tendency allows you to overcome it. Being vigilant to examine the issues at hand and not to be overly swayed by past experiences, especially while you are starting out as a negotiator and have limited experiences. Now, at the end of the video, we would summarize all that we have learned about negotiation. Negotiation occurs in the process of conflict resolution. Location, physical setting, time passage and audience characteristics influence negotiation. Make sure you set aggressive negotiating goals and try to find creative ways to achieve the objectives of both the parties, especially when you value the long-term relationship with the other party. That does not mean sacrificing your self-interest, rather it means trying to find creative solutions that gives both parties what they really want. Thank you so much for watching the videos. I can be contacted at the provided email IDs and on my LinkedIn ID for further clarifications and discussion on the topic. Thank you so much.